I'm gonna go over oil materials for beginners and all the essential materials I have. I will leave a link down below for all the products I mentioned in the video. First, I will show you the materials for beginners. Palette, paper towel, glass jar, brush cleaner, cloth, brushes, palette knife, medium, oil paints, and a razor scraper. Let's take a look in details. This is a palette I use, which is 16 by 20 inches. The thickness is about this thick and it's made out of glass. All the colors I use every day are squeezed on the palette. I usually leave the paints on there after I'm done painting. Since oil paints dry slower, you can still use them the next day. This is a palette knife. I prefer a long and round palette knife. It's very flexible, as you can see, which makes easier to mix paints. You can pick up paints, mix, and scrape like this. This knife is very sturdy and high quality for the price. This razor is used for scraping leftover paints off the palette after painting is done. Just simply wipe the paints after scraping on paper towel and the palette is all clean. Next is a brush. Synthetic brushes are cheaper than sable brushes, which is one of the reasons why I mostly use synthetics. My favorite brands are Princeton, Robert Simmons, and Rosemary & Co. Their brushes have good amount of hair and are very affordable. Since they're cheap, I replace my brushes without feeling too guilty. The shape of these brushes is called filbert. It's flat and round at the tip. I use filbert 95% of my painting. Typically, oil painting is worked on an easel, which is why oil brushes are longer than watercolor brushes. This is just an old towel. I use it when I want to change colors in between painting session. Just wipe off the paints on the towel. This is the paper towel I use, and it's a lot stronger than regular paper towel. As you can see, it doesn't tear easily compared to regular paper towels. This particular paper towel is called shop towel, which is mainly used in auto shop for wiping grease, etc. These are what I use for cleaning brushes. You can use mineral spirit, but I prefer this brush cleaner. It's a soap made for cleaning brushes, and as you can see, I've used it quite a lot. This is a glass jar with an aluminum coil inside for scrubbing brushes. The spiral inside is flexible. Soak the brush in the water, swirl it in the soap, and scrub it on the coil to clean. The spiral inside looks like this. The other alternative is this rubber product. You can attach this on the bottom of your jar to scrub your brushes. Next is a medium. This is a medium I use every day. Water is used as a medium for watercolor, and oil mediums are used for oil paints. You probably heard that oil paints are bad for your health. That's mainly because of oil mediums. But this one claims to be non-toxic. I'm not sure how non-toxic this is, but I'll let you know if I'm still healthy in 30 years. The last essential material for oil painting is oil paints. It would be the best if you're able to get all the colors, but if you only want to get the minimum number of oil paints, I recommend yellow ochre, vermilion, titanium white, and ivory black. These 4 colors are called the Zorn palette. The great Swedish painter Anders Zorn was known to express numerous colors with these 4 colors. These are all of the essential materials for beginners, and let's get into the rest of the materials I have. If you paint directly on top of pencil drawing, they will smudge and get mixed with the paints. So that's when the fixative spray comes in. This is made by Blick and it's a workable spray. You can keep working on top of it even after spraying. This is a great spray when it comes to fixing a drawing, and it's very cheap. but it smells really bad. So never forget to ventilate when you use this stuff. This fixative spray is non-toxic. It claims to be odorless, but it has a slight alcohol smell, which goes away shortly after. I didn't expect too much from this since it's non-toxic, but it fixes drawings really well. But it doesn't spray evenly, so it takes time to get used to. You can get a mist spray bottle to fix that. The Blick one sprays really evenly in very fine mists. This is a malt stick. It prevents your hand touching your work. It separates into 3 sections, but I have no idea where the middle part went. It's ideal for storing since you can separate them, so it's not a huge long stick. It used to be a lot cleaner, but I used it for over 5 years. That's why there's a lot of stuff on there. Traditionally, they're made in wood and stuffed fabric at the tip. This one has a rubber tip. You put the rubber tip on the painting and place your hand on top of the stick while painting. Your hand stays clean and your painting doesn't get smeared. This is a palette container. It's made out of plastic and pretty stable. The lid feels like silicone and very flexible. When there's leftover paints on palette, it's a waste to throw away, and it dries over time. So I purchased this to prevent the paints from drying. It doesn't seem like it's helping that much, but it's good for keeping dust off your palette. These are priming materials. When you make a canvas, you prime the surface. This is acrylic gesso, which takes about 20 to 30 minutes to dry. I use this clear gesso when I do quick study painting on my sketchbook. This is an oil primer I mainly use for canvas. Typically, oil primer is known to take at least 6 months to dry. This particular brand claims to dry in a week. Before applying oil primer or gesso on a canvas, you need to size the surface. This product helps the fabric to stiffen and prevents the fabric from collecting moisture, which prolongs the life of the canvas. Oil paints tend to get absorbed into fabric over the time, causing discoloration in the long run. So sizing your canvas acts as a film which prevents destruction. These are the oil mediums. These 3 products need ventilation, and these 3 are non-toxic. This product is probably the most popular medium. There are other types of liquids such as fine detail, impasto, light gel, and oleopasto. But the original worked out the best for me. It dries usually in less than a day to a day. But it smells. Never forget to ventilate. This medium is made with linseed oil, resin, and odorless mineral spirit. It's a fairly thick gel, which was really hard for me to spread oil paints with. It has a very strong smell, so again, ventilation is essential. Since there isn't any dryer in it, it takes quite a long time to dry. This one is sort of the same family as oleoresin gel but doesn't have resin. It doesn't have strong smell. The brand claims not to have toxic ingredients in them, but recommends ventilation. The consistency is very smooth and spreadable. This one also takes a long time to dry. This is a non-toxic medium. It's solvent-free as well as oleo gel. It has very watery consistency like thin syrup. It takes 3 to 5 days to dry versus M-gram dries the next day. This one is basically same as this but in a gel form. It also doesn't dry fast. I wanted to give it a try since it was non-toxic but doesn't dry fast enough for me. It seems like mediums from gambling tend to dry slower. Finally, it's the most traditional medium, linseed oil. I mainly use other mediums when I paint and use linseed oil for final layer. I apply a thin coat of linseed oil on the painting and mix tiny bit of the oil into the paints. Make sure you don't use too much medium. What do you use after shampoo? You use conditioner. Same thing for brushes. They need to be conditioned after being washed. After cleaning brushes, I dip them in this oil and lay them flat on a table. It's best for oil brushes to stay moist. These are varnishes. You apply this on your painting after it's completely dry. Varnishing is important if you want to preserve your painting. It's sort of like putting film on top of your painting. You have to make sure the studio is dust-free. Otherwise, every dust from air would be stuck on the painting. These are the tools for making canvas. These are canvas pliers. Those rubber parts help to grip canvas, which makes easier to stretch. The rubber handles and the spring keep coming off, so just keep that in mind. It's pretty big for my hand, but it'll be fine as you get used to it. This is just a cheap staple gun I got from Amazon. It gets jammed pretty often, but I can't complain too much for the price. The very last material is easel. You can't really see the easel in this video, so I attached the picture of it. This is the easel I use every day. The sketchbook on the easel is 11.5 by 8 inches, so you can kind of tell how big the easel is. Considering the price, I'm very satisfied with this easel. It's easy to use and pretty stable. That is it for the essential oil painting materials, and thank you for watching.